So I think, we've all seen them, I think, on TikTok, on witchtok, where, hey, you, this card, this might be for you. Your secret love is waiting for you. DM me more to find out. Well, this card is for you. If you're seeing this, then you were meant to find it, and then pay me $250. Right. Hey witches! Happy New Year's!
And Happy New Moon!
If you're new here, my name is Marcus James. I'm an author, witch, activist, and defiant homosexual.
And I'm Evanne. I am a fiction editor, a legal document specialist, and also a practicing witch myself.
And we're here to spell the HEKA-TEA.
So drink up, witches.
If you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all the things.
It really helps us out on our channel, and we would love to connect with more of you all.
Yeah. With that being said, hope you guys had a great holiday. Whether you just celebrate Yule or the solstice, winter solstice is like a general thing, or one of the other traditions, or if you celebrate just also Christmas, or just Christmas, or if you do the 12 days of Christmas and you're still in the process of celebrating, or if you're celebrating Hanukkah or anything else. We hope that your holidays have been great.
Yes, exceptional even.
So, with that being said, how was your holiday for you? How was it?
My holiday was great. I spent the time with close friends and family.
Yes.
Like you.
Like me, yeah. I know, it's so weird to be asking that when I'm like, we didn't spend it together.
Right, when you're like, I know how your holiday was.
But you could also be like, actually, it fucking sucked. And I'd be like, well, now I know.
Exactly.
Yes, we celebrated Yule together, and then we did Christmas dinner, Christmas Eve dinner, and then Christmas Day dinner together.
Yes, we are those type of witches who celebrate both. We are equal opportunity holiday lovers.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and who doesn't? More opportunities to celebrate, to gather, to eat good food, no matter the butter content.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
get gifts, give gifts, get gifts. The continuation of I'm a Leo. I love getting gifts. I also love giving them, but I do love getting them.
Oh, me too.
The more excuses to get them, why not?
Right, exactly. And I'm an Aries, and we will go for any excuse to throw a party.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, you put those energies together, and
you have this chaotic nonsense.
Yeah. All right. So, how many of you out there, and I hope, if you're watching, please comment, how many of you out there do celebrate either with your coven or at home with family, but you do, exchange occult-specific, witch-specific gifts? I think that's, those are like my most special ones.
Oh,
obviously.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I love getting jewelry as well, but there's a specialness to getting something occult related. And sometimes it just falls into both categories, and that's just absolutely chef's kiss.
Yes. I'll say thank you so much for Yule. Evanne got me the HEKA-TEA Oracle. I'm super excited about it. In fact, let me grab that right now. So that's right here, and it's by Ken Payne and Chris Butler. And I am so excited for this. I saw this at the Magical Yule Market, Winter Magical Market at Crescent Moon Gifts here in Tacoma when we went for the show. And so I'm just so excited about this.
Yay.
So again, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
And this is created by someone who follows HEKA-TEA and HEKA-TEA's path as a HEKA-TEA witch like I am. And the Oracle follows her path, the wheel, all of her teachings. And I'm just really excited to get into this and to explore it and to explore myself because, you know, HEKA-TEA is all about shining light in the darkness and guiding through and revealing new things and just kind of reassessing and reevaluating and journeying and figuring things out. So thank you. I'm so excited about this.
You're welcome. Okay, and I actually have a gift to show. Yay for show and tell.
Yeah, show and tell.
This was also a gift from Marcus. I swear we are not doing this on purpose. But she is a beautiful rose and I believe, is it white gold? Yellow gold figurine of Santa Muerte. And it is a bracelet. She is just beautiful. I love looking down at her and just seeing her face in my, you know, my day-to-day existence, my life. Like, it just really reminds me of what she means in my life. And she's also just such an entity who, you know, can bring destruction, but she can also bring such healing and joy. And that is something that I really love, looking down at my hand and seeing.
Yes. Well, you're welcome. And I'm glad that you love it. You know, I know it's a little like, obviously we like jewelry. Yes. And obviously we like fine jewelry. We like luxury jewelry. And obviously that's not, you know, that's not indicative of, if you're going to be a witch, you have to wear like expensive occult jewelry. We just happen to love it. And,
it's kind of our thing. We collect it. We always gift each other with it at every occasion. So our birthdays, holidays, all of the things. We just know that each other really loves that kind of thing and loves that aesthetic. And that's just kind of our situation.
Yeah. So, you know, and we're going to get into this later when we get into kind of like witch talk and social media aesthetic witchcraft. And a lot of that can make it seem like, you know, being a witch is expensive. And in some ways, on a practical sense, like, it kind of is, in the sense that, like, you know, witchcraft books and stuff, especially if you buy them in New Age shops, because they're having to compete with Amazon and other online markets, a lot of these things can be really pricey.
Yeah.
And,
not to mention, you know, buying magical supplies like herbs.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to be clear because I know that, like, we do kind of have an aesthetic, and that aesthetic is a lot of razzle dazzle, a lot of diamonds and sparkle and gold. And,
exactly.
But that's just because we love fine jewelry, but we also want it to mean something, and we want it to still be occult jewelry. We still want it to be witchcraft related. But that's just our thing. So I just wanted to say that. We'll get into it later, but I just want to be clear, like, we're not trying to send a message of, like, you have to wear, like, you need to be bougie and shit to, like, be a witch. Like, you need to wear expensive jewelry, witchcraft occult jewelry. No.
Not at all.
Your $10, $15, $20 pentagram that you know, sterling silver pentagram, stainless steel, whatever, that you get off Amazon or at your local witchcraft shop, or fuck, even Michael's in the beads section, is totally fine.
Exactly. Like, don't ever feel like if that aesthetic is not your thing, that it makes you,
or you can't afford it, or whatever.
That it makes you less of a witch, because the goddess does not give a shit about what is on your wrist. She cares about the devotion that is in your heart.
Yeah,
and we just want you all to know that.
Exactly.
And hear it.
So please let us know in the comments if you got any fun witchy gifts, whether they're in the nice hybrid designer fine jewelry aesthetic level of witchdom, or if, you know, it's a new cauldron, or just some new candles. Like, we always go to the Dollar Tree and when we need our candles and stuff, like, you know, just 7-day prayer candles, tapers, and votives, they're all at the Dollar Tree.
Exactly.
And we give those as gifts. And you know what? Getting, like, a giant holiday gift bag full of prayer candles.
Oh my gosh, the best thing ever.
That to me is an amazing, like, thank you. Like, I thank you. Like, especially, you saved me a lot.
Especially when it's, like, all different colors of candles. I love that.
Exactly.
So much.
Because then it's like a variety of uses.
Yeah.
So, all right. So in the spirit of all of that, that kind of leads into the next thing, and kind of what we touched on earlier, which was celebrating the Wheel of the Year, and specifically at this time when it does coincide with now Christian adopted times, is the celebrating of one or the other or both. You know, do you just celebrate? Are there people out there who just? I know we have a friend, Betty. She's amazing, and she celebrates the solstice, winter solstice, Yule, whatever. I don't know which way she refers to it, or specifically how she does it. I don't think she does like a Nordic Yule.
Yeah.
traditional, but so it's probably just more winter solstice. But yeah, she did a solstice tree. It was a beautiful tree, but all the ornaments, all the things in it were like sunflowers and roses and very summer and spring and corn and very beautiful. But it was very much a solstice, tree. Like it was all about the return of the sun. She doesn't celebrate Christmas. We of course celebrate because we just love any excuse to celebrate and give gifts and get gifts and gather and decorate and be ridiculous and dress up.
Exactly.
So, but what do you think are the pros and cons of one or the other or both? Like, do you think it makes you more? I guess I mean, obviously, this is only pertaining to those who celebrate the Wheel of the Year. But do you think that the celebrating of the wheel and only doing that, do you think that makes one, like when I learned that Betty only does is one of those who only does the wheel, my instant thought was like, oh my god, does she think less of me as a witch? Like I felt like instant witch shame because I was like, am I less of a witch because even though I've been practicing my whole fucking life, am I somehow less of a witch because I'm not that dedicated where I haven't absconded? Like, am I a fair weather heathen? Am I a fair weather pagan?
You know, I do not think so, because if you go back, like we talked about in the last episode, most Christian traditions are in fact themselves just adopted from pagan traditions.
Right.
So I don't feel less of a witch for celebrating Christmas because it was ours to begin with.
Right.
And the people who do celebrate just one or the other, I'm not saying it's all of them because obviously there are such varying degrees.
Right.
But it kind of goes into that gatekeeping of witchcraft.
Right.
And there are so many different ways to practice. And I do think a lot of people tend to want to put witches in a box.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I really don't like that. Because again, like we talked about, there are so many different ways to practice, so many walks of the witch.
Yes.
And so I just don't think that you can put a box around it because your practice and your experience, your dedication to the goddess is going to be different from every other witch's.
Right.
And
we should clarify.
Yeah.
So by default, we're doing that where it's like you guys, or we'll say the goddess because we are obviously goddess centered. So it's like our deity. Default, but we mean your deity, whatever deity, ancestor, whatever. If you do, because obviously we are speaking to heathens, pagans, whatever. Those who do actually believe, worship, acknowledge actual gods and goddesses, deities is what we're referring to now. So when we say goddess, we do mean any whichever deity, male or female, or anamorphic, in between that you follow, honor. Whatever.
Exactly. I just use the term goddess when I'm talking about it because that's my experience.
Same, exactly.
Obviously, we are talking about any deity.
Yes. We just start doing like I said, we just slip into it. So if we say goddess, please don't be offended. We do actually just mean whatever deity you honor.
Exactly. But I think the important part of that story is that hearing her say that, even though she had not said anything judgy towards you, immediately made you wonder if she was judging you.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people who are very strict one way or the other do tend to have that judgment towards you.
And like I never had a conversation with her. It was just literally from seeing her picture of her Yule tree and knowing and then realizing and knowing from her that she she only celebrates the wheel. It was all internalized speak of if she knew that I celebrate both, and I'm pretty sure she does because I posted many times throughout the years, then does she secretly judge me?
Right.
And does that make me less of a witch because I'm not as hardcore and am I, like I said, a fair weather witch? In the end, I don't think so.
No,
I think that it's okay if you do, I don't think you're betraying anything if you do celebrate still the Christian mass version that's put on it.
And she may not be a witch who's gatekeeping and full of judgeries, but I think you had that reaction because so many are, and you've had that experience of being judged so many times.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. I mean, especially and we're going to touch on gatekeeping later in the episode, but yeah, I've definitely been in situations where because I wasn't doing something the way some other witch who thought they knew more or better, I wasn't doing it the way they wanted me to. they went from either telling me I wasn't a real witch or I wasn't witch enough or like I just had so much to learn and I was so full of all this judgy crap.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, I can teach you so much. And let me just say, I've done hexes spells and folds around those motherfuckers.
Right.
So, whatever. But, yeah, so because of that, I definitely think past experience of gatekeeping and that kind of bullshit definitely did play into that kind of like, oh, what is the... Am I somehow a fair weather witch for celebrating both and not just adhering to the one? Like, I'm trying to have it both ways and not just be faithful and dedicated to the pagan path, the heathen path. And, for me, Christmas has always been about Santa Claus, which is pagan.
Exactly.
Like, it's always been, I mean, I used to light, like, Santa candles as a child and pray to Santa. I would look at the North Star because I was like, that's how you pass through the magical tunnel that goes to the spiritual plane of the North Pole. Because I was like, Santa's not physically at the North Pole. It's, like, on the fairy dimension, the fairy realm.
Okay.
Like, that is where he is in the North Pole and the elves and all that. He's in the fairy world. He's an elf.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So, and if you go further, obviously Odin, whatever, like all the things we talked about in the previous episode.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, please do. It's our Yule holiday winter solstice special. It was really fun. We have our cooking special, Delicious Witch, on there. We went to, or tried to, film at the Winter Magical Market at Crescent Moon Gifts. But as soon as, it recorded fine outside, but as soon as we got inside, all the witchy energy in there actually screwed with the camera, and there's some weird magical interference light anomalies in the footage,
which is interesting to see.
Yeah, it's around the tarot, the shelf with all the tarot cards, which is by the register and had a lot of people trafficking through, and you would go through the door right there to get to everything else. And then it happened again over at the case with all the wands and all the gemstones and all the magical jewelry, amulets, etc. So if you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's the episode before this. Tell us what you think. Do you celebrate both? Do you just celebrate winter solstice or Yule or something else along the pagan path? Or do you also celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever Abrahamic, non-pagan version of the winter time that you celebrate? If you do both, please let us know and your thoughts on it.
Yeah, we would love to know.
Yeah, please
share with us.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, let's get into talking about the season that we have coming up of the new year.
Oh, yes. So obviously it's the new moon, the day now. And then tomorrow is going to be the New Year's Eve.
Yes.
And this is a time, obviously with the new moon, it's all about new beginnings, restarts from things. Either you can start a new spell that you want to build in power all the way up to the full moon and through the full moon.
And I would actually just like to interject real quick here. This new moon is actually a very special new moon because it is a black moon, which is what occurs when timing falls that there are 2 new moons within the same month. So that doesn't happen very often, so that's very exciting.
That is very exciting.
So it's like double your manifestation energy right before the new year. I think that's just such a powerful energy.
Yeah, no, and that's super, super important. Thank you for that tidbit of information.
Of course.
And this is a time to cleanse. We talked about this in the astrological roundup of the month last episode, December 31st. Cleanse it all. Cleanse out your house. Cleanse your altar, not just through saging and smudging, but actually scrub and clean
it out.
And if you have any idols, icons on your altar, give them a nice cleansing bath and recharge them all, rededicate them, clean them up. Remember, these are your vessels for deity to come through, spirit to come through and be present and with you in their altar, and the altar that you have them. That is, that's their space. That is their home. That is their point of energy, their throne, their seat of power.
I mean, think of it like if your deity was physically in your home, in your guest room.
Yeah.
You wouldn't receive them with a room full of your nasty ass laundry.
No, I would hope not. I would hope you would not do that. So yeah, just cleanse it all. Make sure to cleanse your home. There was a great segment in the last episode that where she talked about witch cleaning tips, lazy witch tips, and that's all about basically cleansing your home, both magically, spiritually, energetically, as well as actually materially cleansing it.
Yeah.
So go check it out again. It's in the previous episode, our winter solstice special. Also, this is a time, New Year's is a time, it's a liminal space. Liminal space and time is the transitional period. I know it seems like we talk a lot, and especially, and it's true, during this time, up through Imbolc especially, it is all about transitional times. The veil is thin. It's now slowly sealing back up to Imbolc. But
and it really is a time of introspection as well.
Yeah. And it's about change. It's about exploring yourself, the deeper depths of yourself, seeing what you need to work on, what needs to shift, maybe what you need to cleanse and get rid of that you need out of your life and that you don't want to deal with anymore. And who do you want to become? Who do you want to be in 2025? Who is it that you want to be? And the liminal space and time, the new years, this is a time of change. This is a time to manifest. It is the liminal space to go into the new year, reshaping and reforming who you are and who you want to be to where you want to go.
Exactly. I think it's really interesting to talk about that liminal space in the context of the new year because, like, by definition, a liminal space is a space between one realm and the next.
Yes.
And right now we are in that space between this year and the next. So yeah, I just think it's really important to go inwards and analyze where you are right now and where you would like to be a year from now.
Exactly. And then start thinking about how you want to shape that and become that. Remember, it's like we talked about in the last episode, focus on the little steps to get there, not the end game, and just focus all your magic on manifesting and reaching the end game. Start thinking about your steps to your end game, and then redirect your magic and start focusing your magic on just accomplishing each step. And eventually you'll achieve and get to the end. And this is the same thing. This is the time to start putting that out there.
Yes. Is around the new year, we rededicate ourselves to our deities, to our goddesses, and kind of what that means and why is that important?
Yes. So is it necessary? Like, do you need every year to do a rededication ritual to your deities? Is it necessary or required, especially if you're really actively and religiously, for lack of a better term, honoring them, and, do you really need to? No. But is it important? Is it maybe not necessary, but is it a good thing to do, a good measure to take in terms of, returned assistance and blessings later? Yes. So, this is just however you do it, whoever you honor, whoever you follow, just, get, in the case, for example, with HEKA-TEA, I get her, I'll spend some money on a really nice, like, candle with herbs and gems in it that are significant to her. And, maybe I will buy her some jewelry.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times, maybe there's a piece of jewelry that I love, that, I just can't wear anymore. It's too small or it's too big. I won't wear the other.
Or you're worn it out.
Yeah, I tend to not. I'm pretty good with my jewelry, so, like, I don't tend to wear anything out. But sometimes I can wear it out in terms of just, like, aesthetically. It's just not.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I love it, but I just will probably never wear it again. But it's so beautiful, and the best offerings a lot of times are sacrifice, things that matter to you that you don't want to part with. And I'm one of those people that I'll hold on to something forever because I'm like, no, I'll wear it again, or I can find a way, and maybe not this week, but next week, and I don't. So then I'll give it to her, and at least I know that it's something that I love and is being given in love. And then, but a lot of it, maybe it'll be food. Like, she loves honey, so I will offer her, and milk. So I'll warm milk and make warm honey milk, and offer her, like, I'll get a honey bun from from the grocery store or the gas station, like, a honey bun, and give it to her. It's a sweet honey bread, and it's round like the moon. So, and then I sing hymnals, do her hymnals, her prayers, and I recommit. Same thing with Santa Muerte. Like, whenever I'm doing novenas to her, I'm actively dedicating love to her and praise to her. But I still, once a year, will actually formally recommit. And again, spend a little bit more money on offerings that, not break the bank, but spend a little more money on offerings that are a little more special than just the usual offerings I do, which, already are pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, you just do however you would do that pledge, that recommitment to their cause, to their course, to their message, to their warrior, to their battle cry, that you will always stand, beside them, with them, and rely on them and trust in them. And that comes. I've experienced, because of that. I do, yeah. I experience a lot more, just things always working out and finding, if I'm looking for something, it may take a couple of weeks, but exactly whatever it is I'm seeking, I'll find it at an antique store, or like a Value Village, or a Goodwill, or even the dollar, whatever I'm looking for. I'll find exactly what it is that I'm seeking, or something will just work out. And a lot of that, I do have to think, comes from really saying and showing that there is, real love in there, and sacrifice there, and willing to give and to listen and to trust, no matter how tough things can be.
Definitely. One year I really wanted to show my commitment and my rededication for Azili, and so I got her 2 rosaries. One was red and the other was white. And so I dedicated, consecrated both of them, of course. And she got one on my altar inside the house, and she got one in my car.
Nice.
So that she could always be with me and bless me as I bless her.
Right.
And yeah, I do think that's important to show your love and devotion to them in all ways.
Yeah, and it's not necessary, but also if maybe, especially like I said, if you actively once a week, or if every day, do dedications or whatever, it's definitely not necessary, because you are actively every day, you don't necessarily have to go. But if you are a little lapse, maybe the altar is a little dusty, maybe you haven't gotten to it in a while. We've all been there.
Oh yeah.
We're just life gets you and everything, and it takes a toll, and you can't go to church, as we like to call it. We like to say we're going to church. That
is 100% how I feel about it.
Yeah. But sometimes you just don't feel like going to church, and it gets dusty. And maybe you haven't done any dedications or commitments or praise in a while, and maybe you are afraid that because of that, maybe you're gonna fall out of favor, or they're gonna walk away. We know that deities can be fickle. Let's be serious. Christians like to pretend, but let's not pretend.
No.
And so if you have been a little lapsed, then this is a perfect time to dust it all off and rededicate, recommit, give a little extra, just let them know. As I adjust myself, I had to get up, and it was a whole thing. Answer a phone call, or actually reject the phone call. And it was my partner, but it's all right. He knows that I have to film. It's fine. Anyway, but this is a good time. This is a good time to just kind of reconnect with spirit, with deity, have those special moments, put on the music, that whatever music it is that you listen to. I think most of us do put on music when we do ritual, or when we spellcraft, when we get witchy with it, and just reconnect and retune, just check in. And if there's anything that you have been dealing with, this is a great time to leave it to them and shed it.
Let's get into our New Year's spellcraft.
Yes, this is our new segment, our spellcraft segment. We started in the last episode. Excuse me, now I'm all burpy, hiccupy. And now, gross. And now, we're just going to kind of make it part of the episode.
Yeah.
So why don't these are New Year's themed.
Yes.
So, why don't you start?
Sure. Okay. Well, I am going to start with an ocean cleansing bath spell.
Okay. Ooh, I like this.
Yes.
Love a bath.
I mean, who doesn't love a bath?
Right.
Also known as a bain de marais. And this derives from the French Caribbean.
Okay.
Traditionally, it's been performed on New Year's Eve. The purpose is just to cleanse the year's spiritual debris off of you, so that you can enter that new year fresh, like a rose petal, both spiritually and magically cleansed of all of your filth.
Yes. Sounds great. I know I need that.
So traditionally, going back, it was performed at the mouth of a river, but of course today it can be done in the privacy of your own bathtub.
Right. Okay.
Yes. So with that being said, let me get into the technical of this spell. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cleanse your body by rubbing it down with a codfish tail.
Okay.
Yep. As witches, sometimes we do some
It gets
stuff,
gross. It does. It gets gross.
But yeah, so that is the first cleansing portion. Then you're going to fill your bathtub up with hot water and just dump like a mountain of sea salt in there.
Okay.
when you think that you have enough, you add more.
Okay. Yes.
So then,
so clean out the entire shelf of pink Himalayan sea salt
exactly.
at your local Trader Joe's
Yes.
or other grocery store.
100%. So then you're going to get in the bath, however long that you want to sit in there. Doesn't specify in the spell, but you know, as long as you feel that you need to sit in the bath, you sit in the bath. And once you get out, just kind of allow yourself to air dry.
Okay.
Then you're going to take some white roses. I think it makes sense to use 12 to represent each month of the year that you're shedding.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it does it. So just a bouquet.
Yeah.
So a bouquet of white roses.
Yeah, exactly.
Roses. Okay.
So get those. So you hold on to the petal of the first one.
Now, should you take the thorns off?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you do take the thorns off.
Okay.
Before any of this happens.
Okay.
So they should be thornless by the time that you're using
Perfect.
them. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. I meant hold on to the stem.
Okay.
Of the first one. Dip it in the bath, sort of get all of that energy around. And then you're going to take the rose and sort of brush your body in like a downward and outward motion like this.
Like wiping it off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And go down the entire length of your body, just kind of get everywhere. If you have a white towel, once like all of the 12 roses have been used on your body, you're going to set those inside of the towel. If not, a paper towel, as long as it's white, is absolutely fine.
Okay.
So then you are going to go to the beach, or, you know, if you do not live in a coastal state, you can go to the lake, just any body of water that is natural.
Okay.
And you are going to throw each rose in just one by one, obviously concentrating on whatever month it was that that rose corresponds to. So you're going to throw it into the sea or to the lake or wherever you are. And once that is done, you can wash your hands of that year and assure that you are stepping into the new year all fresh and cleansed.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. I love that though.
And I even sat here and I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm like, where can I get a cod's tail? Like, I mean, obviously just a cod, like a codfish. Yeah. But usually in the market, you get one, there's no tail on it.
Right.
So I'm trying to think, so I just started thinking locally, like, where can I go to get an actual, like, cod's tail intact? So, yeah, if I can find one, I'm going to do it.
Maybe like a specialty butcher or something.
A fishmonger, yeah. Yeah, and then, so thank you for sharing that. And then mine is just kind of simple. It's a New Year's Eve lunar candle spell. And this is great because, as we know, on the 30th, it is the black moon, and this second new moon in 1 month. Very magical, again, liminal space. All about transformation and all that shit. And obviously, the moon starts to wax from that point on. So this is perfect. So carve a white candle with your desires on New Year's Eve. So get a white candle. I prefer like a taper or like a pillar or something, you know, that gives you some space and length to carve shit. And make sure to use only one candle per. So you can use as many candles as you want, but just use one candle per New Year's intention or wish. And then reserve the candle until midnight, or candles plural. So don't light them. So then greet the midnight moon by lighting your candle or candles and make your New Year's Eve command or intention, manifestation spell, however you want to see it. And then as you light the candle, and obviously or letting them or it burn down completely. So make sure they're contained in something safe that you can just let the candle burn out and be done. And then the next day, take the wax, and ideally you'd want to take it outside and bury it away from your home, outside in a forest, grove, park, whatever. We don't all have that luxury. We can't all do that. And so I'll say it is, if you can't, it is safe to just dispose of the wax that are in the trash. It is fine. Because the spell was carved in the wax. It melted, the fire, smoke, it all sent it up. The spell's done, it is sent out. Your desire and intentions are sent forth. Again, just a really simple spell performed on New Year's Eve. Again, just hold off till midnight and greet the New Year's midnight moon. Just a good, fun, simple time.
Yeah. Great spell too. I love it.
Yeah. So that was our New Year's
spellcraft.
New Year's spellcraft for the year. Hope you enjoy it, and if you want to try it, or if you have any like New Year's specific spellcraft that you guys do, rituals that you do, again, please comment and let us know. Tell us about it.
Exactly. We would love to become aware of any New Year's spellcraft that we don't know about.
And that we can do.
Exactly.
So let us know. So with the direction things are going, obviously at the end of the month, Trump is going to be president. And ushering in with him, he's bringing in a lot of, I mean, his entire cabinet is run by this new maniacal MAGA, QAnon, Christian right-wing arsenal, army,
Yes.
battalion in every branch of government and control, obviously including the Supreme Court. And a lot of these people believe some crazy shit, not just that, you know, Trump is the second coming. And a lot of them, people in power, people in office, really do believe that he is like the second coming, that he's divinely tapped. And their goal, you know, Project 2025, really seeks to reshape us into a Christian theocracy and punish
anyone
who's outside of that with in real legal, punishable, lawful prison time ways. And a lot of these people are our age.
Yeah.
They're millennials. They're
or even younger.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
I mean, Gen Z is the most conservative generation since the boomers.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And they believe crazy, crazy stuff.
They do.
And we're like, well, you know, the most famous being all of this QAnon stuff, and Trump being basically the Messiah and this warrior for God, and then of course the Pizzagate, Democrats, our secret satanic cabal that control everything, and through blessings from the devil, because Satanists, witches, same thing, and they're sacrificing children, babies, and sucking out the adrenochrome from their something, I don't know, and they're using that for immortality, for like youth creams or something, I don't know, but it's all tied to occult-based stuff, and these people are now in power, and they have a mission from God, and a lot of them, like you said, are our age or younger, and it's terrifying, but also fascinating. And where did this come from? How did this happen? And how deep does it really go? What did they learn? Now, me growing up personally, in my day-to-day life, it was not surrounded by Christianity and evangelism. But my mother's paternal side, my grandfather, that entire side, was very tent revivalist Christian and very terrifying fire and brimstone ways. And my grandfather still is, and they're all super evangelical, born again, terrifying. Yeah. And so I know that they believe a lot of crazy fucking shit, and it's deep and it's insidious, and it was, especially in the 90s, extremely prevalent everywhere, and we know from the 80s to 90s satanic panic, and a lot of this is born from that, and a lot of them watched a lot of programming, whether it was shown at church or they watched it at home on things like TBN, the Charity Broadcasting Network, or CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network, a lot of networks, or watched the 700 Club, Pat Robertson, and I actually caught one of these on television late at night in the 90s. I was one of those people who I just watched anything about witches and witchcraft. I didn't care what it was coming from. I just was like, oh, it's about witches? Cool. One of the things I found was this series called Pagan Invasion. It turns out, I only saw maybe 1 or 2 episodes. It turns out there's 13.
Yeah. Which I don't think is a coincidence.
Not at all. And the things that they believe that are related to the occult and are from the devil and are evil is just insane. And the way they present this is very trying to be quasi-academic. And but yeah, there's 13 episodes. And I know that a lot of the Matt Gateses and the Laura Boberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens, etc., the Mark Hollies, all those people, the J.D. Vances, they actually watched, this is what they were taught when they were growing up as children in the 90s and in the 80s and through the 2000s. This is what they were taught. And this is now what shapes them and their mission in politics. And obviously Matt Gaetz is gone, thank HEKA-TEA. But that doesn't, it's
There's
all of them now.
Right, there's 1,000 more of him waiting in the wings.
Right, and they're already there. They're the whole swamp. They're all in control now.
Yeah.
So we decided that we were going to dedicate each episode of Spelling the HEKA-TEA about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to watch every episode, starting with the first one, and it's called Halloween Trick or Treat.
Yes, and it was hosted by Chuck Smith and Carol Matriciana. And they were, well, Carol's dead.
All right, rest in peace,
Right,
Carol.
I hope she's not resting peacefully.
Same.
Anyway,
whatever.
So they were Christian academics. And it seems like they were this very trusted source for their viewers.
Right. So Carol Matriciani was British. She was English. And she was very prim proper, and she seemed very like, I'm educated and I know what I'm talking about. Right. And then Chuck Smith, generic name, he made me think of my grandfather. He made me think of...
He made me think of every televangelist that you see on TV.
Yeah.
You know, just like he looked greasy.
He had the Dahmer glasses. Mm-hmm. He was very like, you know, receding hairline, like very like pastor. I don't know. It was just, it was whatever.
Now see, there's a reason that they sent Carol to interview all of the people that they interviewed.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So one of the people that they interviewed was named Glenn Hobbs. I don't know if that's his real name. I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt that he was real, and that's his real name. He was a former Satanist. I say former because I don't think he was. This was clearly, again, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he was a victim of repressed hypnosis, repressed memory, repression, regression, whatever. And that he was just a victim of so many thousands of other kids during the Satanic Panic. And now he has false memories that were implanted, that were suggested to him. And though many have since realized and gotten help and realized that like those were not real memories, right. Unfortunately, if you have people who have been taken in by Christianity, by evangelism especially, non-denominational evangelical Christianity, they will retain and believe that still happened to them, no matter how fantastical it is. And so for Halloween, Glenn says that when he was a little child on Halloween, the Halloween festivities for the Satanic Witch Coven that he was raised in, brought in as a child. He doesn't really say if his parents were part of it. It just, he was there as a child and it was a bunch of Satanists. And there was a lady.
Which, see, makes me question the validity of this whole story. Because if you were actually raised in this cult, you would know the backstory of how this came to be. He never goes into any of that.
No, he just is like, this is where I'm at on Halloween. And it starts the last week of September. And he was routinely sexually abused. This was the ritual. The ritual was just taking these children, him and this girl named Becky, this other child. He was chosen to be the high priestess of the Satanic Witch Coven, and he kept making it clear it was Satanic Witch Coven. And Becky, he didn't know, but Becky was also chosen to be the sacrifice of the Satanic Witch Coven, and this would take place on Halloween. And so then he and Becky are like taken like from room to room. At one point they were in a room, and the next thing you know, he's saying he's in the back of a van. And there was like, no, and I'm like, when did you get into a van? Last thing I know, you were in a room. And they just were sexually molested. There's never any like ritual. There's never rituals that take place. The ritual is like, I'm just like, so all Satanists apparently just want to molest children. Apparently. And kill them. For what purpose? Who knows? Because that's never established either. Right. There's never established a reason why this is even happening. And so then he claims that on Halloween night, him and Becky are taken to this altar. Animals are sacrificed. The blood is poured on them. He very much at one point describes the devil rape scene, psychedelic rape scene in Rosemary's Baby. Yeah. Like, I mean, just put him and Becky in it. You know? But it was he's describing the scene from Rosemary's Baby. Like, I mean, clearly this was influenced by the movie. Yeah. And of course, Carol Matriciana is like, yes, this is absolutely real. Right. And he then says that this is when the dedication to Satan happened, and little Becky's throat was slit. They made him do it. He was brought forth, and then next thing you know, his hands were on the athame, and he slit her throat, stabbed her. Like, every time they talk about, like, on all these satanic panic cases that happened, oh, so many children were murdered, so many sacrificed, cannibalized, eaten, all this stuff, and yet never a corpse has been found.
Right.
Never. It's none of this has ever been proven. But they.
And don't you just hate when you're in a van and suddenly, without any warning at all, you found yourself slitting another child's throat?
Right. And the thing is like, what's crazy is when it first started. So aside from talking to Glenn Hobbs, they actually do a fairly accurate in the beginning, fairly accurate description of Halloween and paganism. And they talk to druids.
Yeah.
And they talk to witches and non-denominational polytheists or pagans, heathens, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they give them space to talk. Like, they actually say, like, we're not evil. This is what we believe, blah, blah, blah. So you're sitting here going, wait a minute. When does this, because I even remember as a child, and that Pagan Invasion was very negative towards anything not Christian.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, but when is that happening? Because it starts out very, like, fair.
Yeah, and a lot of the history was very accurate.
Yeah,
it was just, I mean, in the beginning of the episode, I would even say, like, a scholarly account of pagan history.
For sure.
And I was actually finding it very
maybe with some timeline discrepancies.
I was actually finding it very interesting at first.
Yes.
I kind of forgot what it was that we were watching, but then I think that was purposeful too, to sort of make you forget that you were watching something that was biased one way or the other. So then when they hit you with it, you think it's the truth.
Right, and they really do hit you with it.
Yeah.
They veer left from scholarly fact or most fact. Like I said, there's some timeline discrepancies. Like, they just state that, like, the Celts of Ireland were only polytheistic, pagan, whatever, for just 2,000 years before Christianity showed up. Well, we know that's not true.
Right.
They were there for thousands of years beforehand. But they still acknowledge it was before Christianity showed up there. Like, they acknowledge, like, again, it starts out very, like, History Channel.
Yeah.
And then it just veers into this whole other area where she starts talking about how the Druids worshipped different demon kings.
Yes.
Demon kings. And the most important witch at Samhain was Baal, the Nokian, and then she refers to him as the Nokian demon king Baal. If I remember correctly, Baal is actually like Mesopotamian, Sumerian, that whole situation. So why would druids, ancient Celtic druids, be honoring a non-Celtic deity?
Exactly.
Like, that's when you're like, okay. And then it's like, it starts being like, oh, human sacrifice. Even though they do also let druids and witches be like, we don't do that.
Right.
And yeah, we acknowledge that shit did happen. We're not going to be like a lot of revisionist neo-pagan Wiccans who will be like, they actually never sacrificed a human sacrifice. Yes, they did. We all know human sacrifice happened in the polytheistic pagan heathen world, pre-Christian world. We know, and Christian world. The first Jews for thousands of years, they practiced animal sacrifice. Like, sacrifice happened, like, even with the Judeo-Christians. But you're like, okay, this is already veering left. And then they start talking to this guy, Hal Lindsey, who was an author, and by his outfit, a possible paleontologist. Like,
he did have that Indiana Jones look to him.
He did, and he was at like some like abandoned mine, like in California. It was like some abandoned mine, ghost town type situation. And there's graffiti all over the place, just like all over the place. And he's like, here we found, and other shit, because it's an abandoned ghost town in the desert.
Right.
He's like, here we discovered some terrifying witch things, and they show pictures, and it's like a star made out of, or an upside down cross, something like that, made out of sticks or wood, driftwood and twine wound together, which I honestly believe they made themselves. I mean, I really believe it was set up. Then they showed some like walls with like spray painted graffiti of like pentagrams and pray Satan and 666s on them, and then turned around and then was like, this is the hilarious part, then turns around and says the artifacts among the artifacts they found, horrifyingly enough,
A
the diaper
of
of
a
a baby.
baby.
Okay. Did it have shit in it?
Right.
Like, the diaper of a baby, like, out, where I'm sure there was a bunch of other crap and debris where people have hung out, gotten drunk, maybe toured with their kid and just
Exactly.
like maybe dropped a diaper, or
Right.
if it was used, just like miss the trash can and go pick it up,
Right.
or whatever. Like, but it was an instant like, how can we rope this in? And then they just started
Exactly.
showing a lot of like clips of like sensational headlines from the Satanic Panic and
Specifically relating to babies being murdered for Satan.
exactly.
Just working overtime to suggest that this baby that wore this diaper was the victim of a ritual killing.
Exactly, for diabolical means on Halloween. And this is the thing, is this is all supposed to be on Halloween. Like,
Right.
he knows for a fact that whatever happened to this baby in the diaper, it occurred on a ritual on Halloween at this mine. Like, but again, these are things that are being fed and kids are growing up on in these Christian communities and believing to really be real. And they're being shown this in their churches and in Sunday school. And
Yeah.
they would put these in the video cassette player. And I mean, in the beginning of the video and at the end is an ad to order it. And it physically says, go to your, order for your home or for your church.
Yeah.
Or through your church with discount, like, and believe me, they did show this in churches in the 90s. And I guarantee you they still do. They still do show this stuff in a lot of churches. Specifically this series, Pagan Invasion. They do show this stuff. At one point, they feature an invocation to HEKA-TEA,
Yes.
which, as we've talked about consistently, and we will, when we get into our episode in-depth series on HEKA-TEA and why she's so, oh my gosh, the church frequently has picked on her specifically and used her as specific examples of witchcraft and etc. So, yeah, so I just thought that was funny that once again,
it's all going back to her.
There she is. They're going to use her in opportunity, especially talking about Halloween. They're going to show an invocation to her being performed by a coven. Oh,
and then they go out of their way to say, like, oh, these are not actors. These are real witches. These are real spells to scare the viewers.
Yeah. And you could tell by some of them that they were real. It was real footage. And partly I'm also like, how did you obtain this? And like, did you get permission?
Yeah.
Like, it just, I wasn't happy with it. And then, of course, they kept talking about praying against the dark forces of Halloween to save the children, which we're hearing again, and we've been hearing hashtag Save the Children ever since Pizzagate with Hillary Clinton, when all this QAnon, satanic, democratic, liberal cabal, adrenochrome shit started up again. And that's, taken over this whole thing. That's what this is all about. And I just think that it's also interesting that he then just says, he concludes that there is a legitimate and dangerous pagan invasion that has infiltrated America, and made it very specific, America. And this is what was being pushed back then to Christians, to evangelicals, to children, to warn them against getting involved in witchcraft and paganism, especially because it was so popular at the time for young people to get involved in. So that's who these were targeted for. It was about educating and warning children and teens to stay out of witchcraft and paganism and the occult, and even yoga and meditation, because that's evil too.
Exactly. Gotta be wary of those deep breaths.
Yeah, and then they kept saying, like, there was at one point, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
They showed some teens hanging out, like footage from teens from like the early 90s, actually, or even the late 80s. And it's like, but they're like, Satanists and witches use sex and drug parties to lure teens into the occult, into practicing witchcraft and Satanism. And I'm like, really? Because no one
reached out
to me growing up to take place in any sex and drug parties to start witchcraft, and nor did I ever get told I needed to do so and find and lure people into sex and drug parties. No one provided me with the drugs to then do this.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure what they're talking about.
I think we might have missed out.
I think so. I
mean,
think so.
My journey started in a Barnes and Noble, so I feel cheated.
Oh yes, and then what about the sacrifice?
Oh yes.
The vampirizing.
Oh yes.
Where they talk to those chicks, those two women who look like, I don't know, like they were goth Susie and the Banshee Reject.
Right.
Like,
I was gonna say, they looked like if you ordered Susie Quattro on Wish.
Yes. And they were just like, they started talking about sacrifice and animal sacrifice specifically, because they were saying that you could like what was the term they used? Vampirize during animal sacrifice, and vampirically we drink the energy. They didn't say drink the blood.
No.
So I will say, at least they didn't say we actually drink the blood, which is drink the blood. But they said that we animal sacrifice, and then we vampirize
take
and
in the energy of that animal that is passing. And then they said something else that was kind of funny to me, and that was that once you had done it once, you developed a bloodlust for these animals and needed to keep and continue doing it over and over again to feel sated.
Yes. And again, these are people who are just like saying on camera, like, I slit a child's throat, that this Becky who does not exist and no one can find any existence on. Of course, they always have an excuse for that about what the witches and Satanists did to make them disappear.
And it's always the most generic name, so it can never be traced to anyone real.
Right. And then there was, they talked to a lot of people in England. One of them was this old woman, this elderly woman. She looked like she was from Keeping Up Appearances, the BBC show. She was all pearls. Her name was Agnes. She was very proper. And she just casually is like, I was a satanic child bride, and I took part in a black mass on Halloween. Again, all of these things supposedly took place on Halloween. And
must have been a very busy Halloween.
Yes. And she, I believe, if I remember correctly, she had intercourse with the high priest.
Yes.
And he took on the role of Satan, and she had to commit herself. She had to sign her name in blood in contract that she would never give out the secrets. And she was wearing a white dress, and she referred to that the ritual was called the sacrifice of the white virgin. Again, just so much fantastical stuff that you've heard in movies. The white virgin, I'm like, girl, that was because you grew up watching, this is all stuff from watching Hammer films when you were a young woman in the 60s. Yeah. Like, it was all stuff that, again, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're the victims of these religious psychiatrists who took part in these false memory regressions of satanic and witchcraft occult abuse and all this shit that wasn't real.
Right.
But again, this series, these documentarians, Chuck Smith and Carol Matriciana, are legitimizing their stories and these things to evangelical viewers, Christian viewers who are watching this and are believing it 100,000% that it's all real in every single way.
Right. Because they're just presenting it in such a scholarly manner that I think it's something that as a viewer would have been easy for you to believe.
Yes. And then it just kind of wrapped up with her going into the different traditions of Halloween, and she brought up jack-o'-lanterns and black hats, and she started once again to start off with the truth and then just veer into fear-mongering, where she said that jack-o'-lanterns, yes, originally comes from the Celts, and yes, was originally carved into turnips, potatoes, and later pumpkins, with demonic faces is the first thing she said. And I don't know anyone who carves demonic faces. And you go and look at old photos of turnips from the Victorian era, that when they started taking pictures, and they took pictures of old carved turnips and pumpkins, they weren't demonic. They were usually smiling, happy faces. Why? Because it was about not scaring, but driving away evil spirits with joy and goodness and happiness. But she then says demonic faces, and then turns around and says the Celts who wished to appease and gain power from the demons would then use jack-o'-lanterns, carve jack-o'-lanterns, and the Celts would put jack-o'-lanterns out to appease the demons who came by, to receive their blessings and to not be harmed by them. Which is just not true. No. They weren't for demons and to receive blessings from demons. No. And it just really veered off into, once again, Chuck Smith ends it with, Christians can use Halloween and the night of Halloween as a time for prayer, to educate, pray, and wage spiritual warfare against the powers of darkness that are actively working on Halloween. I don't know a single Halloween, Samhain, whatever, that I have done where I wasted my time casting spells against, I don't know, Christians, against Jesus. I'm not sure what they mean, what they think we're doing. Do they think we're casting spells for terrorist attacks?
Apparently.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to continue on with the next episode.
It really is. Oh, and speaking of fantastical, before we stop talking about this, let's just quickly get into the intro.
Oh, the intro.
Absolutely absurd. So it opens, and there are gongs, dramatic music, dun dun dun. You think it's a castle, you turn out it's really made of crystals.
Yeah.
Clearly like meant to provoke the image that something innocent is going to send you to hell.
Like they're
and then there's
in the castle.
yeah, they're in the castle, and behind each door, which opens very dramatically, is
The next footage.
Yeah, the next footage, the next interview. That very like, what's behind door number 3?
Yeah.
But quite literally, and it's just the whole thing is just very laughable and absurd, and I couldn't stop getting a kick out of it the entire episode.
Yeah. So again, we're gonna continue watching Pagan Invasion.
Yes.
Again, this one was episode 1, Halloween Trick or Treat. You can find them on YouTube if you would like to watch along with us. Every episode of Spelling the HEKA-TEA, we will watch another one. So next episode on the full moon, we will go over episode 2. Again, the reason we are doing this is because so many people who are in power now, so people our age and younger, are actively learning and taking all of this in still. This is what they're being taught, and this is what they were taught and then told to get into politics, and then it was their obligation as Christians to get into politics and save this country from the devil, from the witches, from the Satanists, from the occultists, from the queers, from the homosexuals and the abortionists.
Yes.
That's all real, and it's happening actively, and it's dangerous. But in order to best know your enemy, you have to know what shapes them. The best way to know how to take them down is to understand what is driving them and what their viewpoint is, and all the things that they really do deem and believe are evil. It's really the only way to circumvent is to understand where it started. So this is what we want to do, and I hope that you follow us. So next we want to just really touch on witchtok, which is of TikTok, and just kind of really quick, charlatans and power manipulation in covens or with magical teachers, transactional gatekeeping within the craft, practicing witchcraft, etc., with other people. So I think, we've all seen them, I think, on TikTok, on witchtok, where, hey, you, this card, this might be for you. I have your secret love is waiting for you. DM me more to find out. Well, this card is for you. If you're seeing this, then you were meant to find it, and then pay me $250. And it's just permeating a lot of I feel like the TikTok world of witchcraft. There's a lot of informative, cool stuff out there,
absolutely,
and cool creators and stuff like that. But oh my God, there's
a lot of trash. A
lot of charlatans, a lot of people desperate to make a buck. And, some of them are promising, that they can bring someone back from the dead for $1,000 or $3,000. The sad thing is you think, oh my God, that's so ridiculous. Who would fall for that? But people do. People actually do. Desperate people will pay for this stuff. No witch can bring anyone back from the dead in any corporeal way, shape, or form. All a witch can help you do is get in contact with their spirit. That's it. We can bring them back from the dead in the sense that we can give them an opportunity to speak again to you, whether through intuition, genes, channeling, tarot, however that happens, however the witch facilitates it. That's all we can do. We can't, and in the end, you'll also know, no matter what, you will internally know deep down if what is happening and what you're being told, what's coming through is authentic to the loved one or person, whatever that you're contacting, or if you're getting dragged. You'll know.
Oh yeah.
Even if no matter how convincing it is, if it's just a scam, something's gonna feel off. If you ever get that something doesn't feel correct, or they just seem to know way too much, they just seem really sure of everything they're telling you, no matter what, and that's not settling right. So when that happens, just trust it and get the hell out of there. But we're seeing a lot of this, and there's a lot of scamming going on, and people wanting money, people using their knowledge as like, oh, pay me all this money and I'll teach you. And
just provide you with all of the things that you're missing in your life, like that's not a real thing. That's not something that you can get from an outside source. That has to be something that you build up inside of yourself. And of course, I'm sure that you've experienced this as well. But for me, as a person who often will post about witchy things on my Instagram, after I make a post, a lot of the times I will get a message from one of these charlatans, and they will say, "Oh dear, let me do a reading for you." I won't respond, And there was this one instance where this woman kept messaging me,
Oh,
just
God.
like in a harassing manner, to the point that I had to block her.
And that's horrendous, and
Yeah.
that shouldn't be happening. And I've heard stories of people like getting messages where they're being threatened with hexes. If they, like, or being told that they will be hexed or something bad will happen to them if you don't respond to them, if you don't engage, if you don't pay them. Well, that's probably because they're gonna hex you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not actually something bad's gonna happen, and they need to tell you because they were just being a cool person. Guess what? If for whatever reason I somehow, some way got some kind of reading situation for someone I didn't know on the internet, and it was like a terrible message, I'm just gonna DM you and be like, hey, believe me or not, but like this happened. Like I was like scrolling and I came across you, and I just like got this crazy vision, and I just really am like kind of afraid that it's real.
Right.
Believe it or not, but this is what I saw. This is what I feel like is gonna happen to you. Just watch out.
Right.
I wouldn't be like, pay me.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be like, because I'm a good person. Like, I'm just a decent person. If I really am like, oh, I somehow got this thing for a stranger, I would just tell them. I wouldn't be like, pay me. People are like, I'm going to teach you how to be a witch, and you're going to pay me all this money for courses.
Right.
Here's the thing. This is another form of gatekeeping, power dynamic, transactional, and Gerald Gardner was famous for that.
Oh yeah.
The father, grandfather of Wicca, whatever. He was always present, no matter how old he got, how rickety and wizened. But the high priestess, the minute she reached a certain age, she was out and replaced with another young woman.
Yes.
And that was like that. She earned a crone now, and you are now retired, and
we need a new maiden.
And there was there was a sexual component to that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Like now, from what I understand, like there's no accusations against him of doing anything wrong, but clearly there was still something he sexually and desirable, lustfully got off from it and got from it, and that was power dynamic transactional. There are people who I know have been in experiences where they've gotten into covens where the leadership, it was questionable, and it became very like sexual favors in nature in exchange for teaching and learning. And it's not, it's dangerous, and it's really, you think, oh, well, I wouldn't fall into that. It's actually really easy when you are in an environment where you're trusting, especially if you're new on the path and you are desperate to learn and connect with somebody else, and you want someone who knows more to teach you and guide you because you're scared, and rightfully so.
Or you're at a dark place in your own life and you just want to feel seen and understood, and they know that and they exploit that.
Exactly. So just really watch out for those things, like what we would call transactional gatekeeping, whether it's sexual or monetarily. A lot of, like, if it just seems too good to be true type of witchcraft or spellcraft, don't pay for it. Don't pay someone, honestly, don't pay someone on TikTok, period, witchtok, period, for a reading. If you know someone who, like, most witches know people who own a tarot deck.
Yeah.
Like, just ask one of your friends to give you a reading and offer to pay them, and I'm sure they'll be like, okay, you can pay me in a bottle of booze, or you can pay me in my favorite candy, or you can pay me $10 or whatever, or no, I don't need you to pay me, you're my friend. Exactly. Like, most of us know other witches, whether online or not, who are actually our friends and who do things like tarot reading, or who are willing to do a spell for you.
Right.
I don't know a single witch. I've never known a single witch, magical practitioner in my life who isn't like, yeah, I'll do a spell for my friend, I'll help them.
Exactly.
Like, don't pay anyone for any of that. And really, if you do want to learn from like a teacher, take a course in like degrees of Wicca, etc., really research who it is, who the organization is, the church, whatever, the temple. Really actually research and make sure that they are legit, that they have history, that they really do have, degrees, and that there is a whole path that you do take and learn, etc. So just be careful out there, and just don't fall for the charlatans.
No, the internet is wild, man. Yeah.
And lastly, it's time for our movie review of the moon phase. I don't know, not the month, but the episode, I guess. And this month was The Witches, 1990s The Witches, with Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl's The Witches, Jim Henson, Angelica Houston, all Mr. Bean, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Which I had never seen before, so it was very exciting to watch for the first time.
Yes, and so for those of you who haven't seen it, don't know Roald Dahl's The Witches, I only watched like the first 5 minutes of the remake with Anne Hathaway, and I just couldn't do it, and I turned that off. Which is fine. Nothing's going to beat the original in my eyes. That's what we watched. Angelica Houston was fabulous in it.
As always.
It just it's iconic and stunning and glamorous and scary, and in ways that just the new one was not.
Yeah.
And so Luke is a boy who is in Norway. He is there for the summer with his parents, and they live in England, but they're from America. So I'm not really sure. It's kind of hip hop. And but they're in Norway, and the grandmother has all these stories about witches, and she tells Luke that witches in the mythology of this world, witches have purple eyes, they have no toes, so their feet are square, and they have long, like, scary, gnarly fingers, and they are actually bald, but they have to wear wigs, so as a result, they have head rash on their scalp rash, and they just love to destroy, eat, whatever, children, kill children, and they kill children through magic, and his parents unfortunately pass, and they move back to the grandmother's place. She has a home in England, and from there, chaos ensues.
Yes.
They encounter witches at a holiday at a hotel on the seaside. They're having holiday act, and the Grand High Witch, played by Angelica Houston, shows up.
Yes.
And she is with a children's saving society, and they want to turn the children of England into mice.
Yes.
And then, of course, move on to the children of the world. I love this film. I give it a full moon. I'm obsessed with it since I was a child. What say you?
You know, I will give it a full moon as well. It was campy. I really enjoyed it. I loved the detail that went into like building this world of witches. I loved that their eyes glow purple.
Right.
It was interesting seeing kind of the correlations between like the witches of this world and the witches of reality.
Right.
Because they do describe, you know, how these witches look like everyday people. They're not going to be noticeable. It could be your bus driver, your landlady, your best friend, which obviously, you know, that correlates to how witches are in real life.
Yes.
But it was interesting that in this world, they're sort of insidious figures who are posing as these unassuming people.
Yes.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good watch. I liked that it did kind of delve into that like Norse mythology.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting as well. I do think had I seen it as a child, it would probably have more of that special childhood magic.
Sure, of course.
Obviously, you know, watching it for the first time as a grown adult in my 30s, it didn't hit those notes because, you know, I never watched it at that age.
Right.
But I still thought it was an excellent movie. Angelica Houston was fabulous. I loved her accent. I've only ever seen her in American roles.
Right.
So it was interesting to see her doing accent work, and I'm a theater major as well. So I really enjoyed like seeing her, you know, in a different role than she is usually cast in. It was very interesting, and I liked it.
Well, there you have it. Once again, two full moons, full moon for The Witches, 1990. And with that, thank you for joining us on watching another episode of Spelling the HEKA-TEA with Marcus and Evanne. Once again, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all the things. And next on the full moon, next episode, we will once again be watching episode 2 of Pagan Invasion, and we will be discussing the astrology for the month of January and into the new year, seeing where we have been and how things are adding up and where they're going now. And always remember, witches, broomsticks, not just for cleaning.